It would feel a little bit like what we just saw out of Nova, arguably.
And Nova won.
Even a shaky win from Talon, be kind of similar questions raised. It's the sort of thing you want to bounce back of, sort of thing you want to happen maybe once and never again.
All right, so Talon Esports rolling out here. They're going to start with the double main tank if Gogora is actually going to stay on the Hammond here. So that's something that's going to be a little bit different. Sajin starting out on Sombra has the opportunity and has already spotted Gogora to make that hack.
It takes some chunks though, that does interrupt the hack, and actually Sajin God takes some big pain. And we have seen this sort of in the past. There were some compositions that ran 3-3 subbing out the D.Va.
Yeah, but you're never subbing out the D.Va for another main tank, and I think what part of the strategy is playing to the environment where you do see that hole into the middle, so if you are playing the Wrecking Ball, he can knock somebody in.
This is Giant LYNX having to get aggressive because otherwise Talon are going to get the point for free. Muse is a really tough casualty, but they finally trade back against Luminous A's, and that does give Talon also a numbers advantage. Giant LYNX at the back off, the cap comes through, and now they're still picking up more kills.
This is just all 3 kills right now for Talon Esports to pick up. You see how quickly the cap goes over as well. Giant LYNX just completely give up the space. And if Giant LYNX could have stalled out that fight for a little bit longer, they would have had the EMP. They now do have the EMP, but it's an EMP used to retake the point that's gone from them rather than to continue a point they already have or a neutral point that nobody owns.
Yeah, I don't know, what is it? Kill one, get one free. There's going to be the EMP to come out, and it does catch a good few members.
Transcendence.
Innen doesn't quite save Muse, but there's a counter trade. Gogora's still up. Giant LYNX rotating through some ultimates now. Grab nicely placed, no Transcendence to answer it, and the kills start to come through for Giant LYNX. That was honestly pretty clean.
It's a questionable grab from Apudo, but Indian's got himself 2 so far, and Indian's, if he continues fragging out, he goes down, but what we saw from last week was it's a big factor in the damage output, and just the fact that he can just get 2 kills while backing out can make a huge difference for Talon now reapproaching the point later.
It's just not the direction he's used to going, I guess. Giant LYNX holding on to a Shatter. They don't have too much else to go on, and Talon should come in with an ultimate advantage. It's going to be the minefield down. Nicely placed on the backside. Actually gives Panties a real hard time getting to the fight, and he does end up going down. Now Luminous A's,
another one.
Low as he is just kind of bashing around in the front lines of this fight, never quite taking enough pressure to be at risk of dying. And honestly, a lot of that was just great positional control from Talon.
And it wasn't just that, okay, you put the mines down a bit of a choke area on the side, but it's also the fact that Talon Esports played positioning to push a lot of Giant LYNX members in, boop a lot of them into the mines.
Control.
That's been the highest value mine play that we've seen from multiple teams now, where they get a couple of kills, they clean up the rest of the members and charge ultimates, and they continue capping the point through.
So now Giant LYNX once again having to readdress the point on the attack.
Should be an EMP.
Go ahead and commit in. That's a bit of an awkward EMP, only catches the 2, but they did kill Innen quite early, and he was close-ish to a Transcendence. This presents an opportunity for Giant LYNX.
Innen was caught in there as well, so technically 3, and Innen now has to try and get back to point A.
Nice hack.
A lot of members going down, though. Muse has to shatter sometime.
Yeah, so even with Innen slowly coming back into the fight, there's going to be the grab. He's not there yet. Nor would he have a Transcendence even if he were. That does mean that Talon are probably going to lose this one, and that's giving Giant LYNX another opportunity to bite some progress back.
The Talon were nearly there. They had the Shadow available, couldn't quite find the opportunity to use it. They also nearly had a Graviton Surge. They nearly had a Transcendence. They were nearly onto so many things that could have turned that fight around. A big win for Giant LYNX, though. They need to get something back on the board, and they need high value out of the EMP, which they technically still got.
That's the thing, Talon are now coming back on with a big ultimate advantage. The Shatter is the first one. Nice rescue with the Transcendence. Transcendence on the other side from Panties to deal with Muse's...
Good poop.
Yeah, here we go. Now that's a decent grab. And the minefield again. Trying to get a bit of area denial up. Just 1 for 1 for now.
And it's going to take a while for Luminous Ace to get back into action. He's going to run through a bunch of mines.
Oh, Muse walking right into some big pain. And Giant LYNX actually have an advantage in this fight. Nicely timed sound barrier, though, keeps these members going.
It's a big problem because Talon Esports was starting to win that fight, but now respawns into action. Giant LYNX have properly reinforced, still have control of the point, reaching about 90%, really quick second EMP from Sajin God. Because they win that fight, they now have a Graviton Surge available for the next.
There it is, nicely laid as well, and this is without anyone able to answer. That's the critical
This is going to be
fight.
a win.
It definitely should be. It would be a disaster if it's not. Now rounding to 98, 99. Overtime technically does trigger because Gogora was there, but now nobody is to keep the overtime going. Giant LYNX are going to draw first blood in this series.
I think Talon now have to reassess maybe this composition as well, not, but certainly some of the decision making. You see at the start of the game, again, questionable grab by Apuda to sort of round things out at the beginning, in the middle there as well. Some good plays with the minefield, but that was about the only one. You didn't really see much else happening with specifically that Wrecking Ball. In many cases, you would prefer the D.Va. You prefer the both attacking power and also the defensive power, and also the fact that Bumbarapa, as a Zarya player, has free Graviton Surges, has free roam of the entire map because there is no D.Va pressuring him out. And you have what I like to say is probably one of the better, if not the best D.Va player in the region right now, in Gogora, and he's still not on D.Va right now.
Well, I mean, this is the one deviation we did sometimes see. We didn't really see much of the Wrecking Ball, but sometimes we would see double Ryan Winston, but even then, again, we maybe have to question the trade-off here.
I am personally not seeing the benefit of having the Winston instead of the D.Va in this exact situation. Maybe the damage output's slightly better. Maybe you value the Primal Rage as an ultimate, but self-destruct Graviton Surge combo is a thing. Primal Rage Graviton Surge, not a thing.
Maybe you just really like Gorillas. I don't know. His name is Gogora. That's kind of close, but
Go Gorillas.
I guess if you really like
his name is so close to Go Goats.
It kind of is. It kind of is. And, well, they are. But that's also a cap coming through, and that's with just pressure on Giant Lynx, nothing else really. And Giant Lynx finally starting to get aggressive onto the points. Good hack on Gogora, that's one, but it's a 1-4-1 as Luminous Ace goes down. So Giant Lynx haven't made too much headway just yet, and this is with progress ticking up for Talon.
So with the Luminous Ace down, Muse can stay alive, get an Earthshatter and complete this fight. He needs to get it very quick though. Muse is so nearly there.
Panties is actually first to a Transcendence. That could be quite important. They're going to go ahead and commit it. They got the charge on Bumbarapa to get good damage in. EMP is in as well on top of Muse. That means NN cannot commit a Transcendence to save the team right now. But Talon are the ones who get the kills anyway. Giant Lynx kind of almost getting baited into moving over aggressively, end up in a lot of crossfire, take a lot of casualties.
Yeah, you can just see the focus here. Giant Lynx really wanted to take Muse down, and for good reason. He was sitting at about 95% shatter for most of that fight. Ends up not needing the shatter. The EMP comes through. Strangely, Giant Lynx do not complete the fight, despite the EMP covering most of the members. And the hack right now on NN77.
Grab is answered with a counter grab, mostly because NN was still hacked. Now that he's not, the Transcendent sees them safe through the rest of the fight as they just completely flip the script there. Nicely done by Talon. That's the kind of clean fight we're expecting.
And they're getting a lot of momentum here as well, 70% and counting. And for Giant Lynx, if they're running a Sombra and not winning with the EMPs, that's where the problems really start to lie, because when we go back to University, when EMPs were used, usually Giant Lynx were winning. They won eventually with the EMP as well. This time around, we're not close to it yet, 50%. And we're nearly at the 90% mark. Talon have basically completed this map, and Giant Lynx is still waiting for win conditions. That is an opening, though.
Yeah, it's not a win condition, but it is an opportunity. But nice shatter from Muse. They don't get any kills from it, unfortunately, but the Primal Rage has kept the backline very, very busy. Meanwhile, on the front line, the tanks are down. So even though Vanny's has taken a long, long time to drop and will even commit a Transcendence, it's really only a Transcendence to save his own life, and it's not even going to be enough to save Sadistic. Now that it's run out, he is pretty much forfeit. They did get a cap in the middle of the chaos of that fight, but it is only a temporary thing. And 98% with not much force mustered for Giant Lynx, it does feel like Talon are going to even us up.
And Bumbarapa staying alive here. Very important. Oh, well, okay.
Bumbarapa nearly did it.
I was going to say, staying alive here, very important, because first of all, you want him to be continuing the overtime pressure, keeping that clock going, because the EMP was coming in soon. And that, I believe, was going to be the second EMP of City Center, which actually says a lot about what Giant Lynx were doing that entire game, where they were at. The fact that the first EMP didn't get them the fight win. If that got him a win, maybe it allows you to set your second EMP a little bit better, but just never really got there. The overtime comes in, Talon Esports in position, and they just completely close out. And they didn't even have a D.Va. They are still not running the D.Va right now. I'm still kind of just wondering if this is maybe a pocket strategy they are using specifically on Giant Lynx, because my fear is this is something that wouldn't work against a better team, but also right now, playing to the skill level of their opponents, they get to maybe hide something.
My fear is being hit by a bus. That's
my fear is going to get headshot by NN.
Yeah.
And he's hitting a lot of those.
That's a stun on Bumbarapa. He's going to take a lot of pain for that. He's going to lose his life. And now stun onto Luminous Ace, who might just well suffer the same fate here. Indeed, he will. And that's, I mean, that's very by the book out of Talon.
And by the way, getting hit by a bus, like you said earlier, why are you fearing something that's inevitable? Put it back to the game.
What? What do you know that I don't? Talk to me, answer me.
Oh, remember that story I told you about seeing into the future briefly with vehicles? Anyway.
They got to become a bus driver one day, finally get one back on me.
How do you know I'm not already? Luminous A's
so terrified right now.
On the Earthshatter right now is looking for another opportunity. What you are seeing is Giant LYNX are at least getting ultimates in a timely fashion, but in a big deficit right off the bat. Something maybe.
That's Saputo on his back. He is going to survive though. He stays alive long enough to pop a bubble on himself, and in that whole debacle, Muse was putting out damage. Finally, that damage becomes insurmountable, and you see Giant LYNX fall down. That's the thing. It's a really unfortunate kind of tunnel vision. You go, okay, we could kill this member, but you kind of ignore the counter pressure coming out from Talon.
But I do like that they went for the play. They knew they had realistically one out. If they get the Earthshatter in quickly, Talon Esports don't actually have ults yet. That's something that Giant LYNX can do to win. If they fail, well, it was going to be a bit of a lost fight anyway, a bit of a dry run, get some more ults in there. 18% on the EMP is not where you want it yet. You would have liked to have seen 100% by now because they're going to need it.
Yeah, getting the pressure on the point. Haven't quite got that last bit of charge in the EMP yet, though. Taking a while to come up, and that means Talon can start doing some ultimates here.
He's taking so much punishment.
Goodness gracious me. And now that that EMP is up, unfortunately, there's not enough members alive for it to be worthwhile as we round 70% in favor of Talon.
And right now, this Gardens map has just been a tale of two Zenyatas. One is just completely fragging out, dealing the damage, and the other one is
going out.
The other one's, I mean, the other one's coming out in the way that he's just out of the game because Panty's consistently being taken out straight away. In most of these open engagements, he's been the first target, and he's been the first one down.
As they say, Panties drops. There's the EMP at long last. Doesn't catch in though, and that's the one that you really needed. So again, Taylor to Zenyatta as well. We're seeing who's getting the success. It's now Panty's turn with his own. It's a lot of ultimates committed here. Now the grab. Nothing really to defend against it with except for that sound barrier, which just gets chewed through. Counter shatter is too little too late out of Luminous A's. And I mean, for how this started off, we're finishing the way we feel we should. That is with Talon completing a 100-0 shutout on Gardens, where they never felt like they got out of the driver's seat.
Well, it's almost a 100% shutout. It will be soon.
Luminous A's. I mean, Giant LYNX do have a couple of members here. There is the world where they get a few kills and maybe some trades in. Shattered just to finish off Bomberat, but they got Gogora, that's something, but at the end of the day, there it is, Talon win.
And I think when you look at City Center as well, realistically, that was kind of 100-0 in spirit, despite it not actually being the case. Snuck through a cap towards the end, and 98% to whatever it was.
I count it. It
was kind of a place where it's not like that percentage that Giant LYNX got towards the end was really threatening in any way. It was kind of like
a technicality.
It was kind of like Talon Esports gave it away, but still had the game 100% under control. As soon as they cleaned up the fight, it didn't even care about the fact they lost the cap because they knew they just got to clean up the rest of the members. They recap it, they instantly won. It was basically a back-to-back 100-0. University is the only really blemish here that we do have to consider from the Talon side of things. Wasn't too flashy from them, unfortunately.
I mean, that's the thing. You've got to consider University to kind of be the outlier here. And, like, yeah, there's stuff to sort of break down potentially and you know, lessons to learn from it. But at the end of the day, what we saw in City Center and Gardens is what we are expecting out of this matchup as a whole, and that is Talon in control from start to finish, percentages notwithstanding. And
I think when you look at the University as well, Giant LYNX certainly had a lot more success, specifically playing the Sombra, which they did do consistently across all of the Oasis rounds, but only on University did they get a lot of value. Did they really win from it? Did they really get in timely manner where it had great effect, where there were a few more mistakes on the side of Talon, which were capitalized by the side of Giant LYNX? It started to feel like, oh, Giant LYNX are in this game. Giant LYNX can close out this game. Giant LYNX is showing some really good signs of life here that give you confidence, and then that confidence is quickly snuffed out as soon as you get to the end of Oasis and you see the eventual score.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Giant LYNX were attending that university because they'd like bought their way in, and they did okay, but
when they graduated, they still lose to the people that
Talon were there on a full ride scholarship.
Wait, what? No, just whoa, that was a little too real. Whoa,
hey,
sorry.
Whoa.
I was talking about your life though.
Yeah, my career is in esports. I definitely succeeded at university. This is,
You're only here because your dad's the producer. No.
He made a generous donation. They named a bench after me. I like it when at universities there are buildings named after people. Like, imagine having so much money, you can pay someone else to build a building that you see no profit from, and all you get is your name on it. I think that is so impressive.
Well, they don't make money off that?
I mean, I guess they make a bit, but it's mostly a philanthropic exercise. To be like, yep, that's my building that I gave an institution of education. I am so generous. Look at me, everyone. I'm so magnanimous. Aren't I wonderful? I wish I could do that. My ego is that big. That is my dream. That is my goal.
Just wait like 50 years down the line. I think you get there.
Making that esports money.
You'll donate a whole
building.
Doesn't need to be much.
It'll be a computer lab.
Doesn't need to be much. It's just a small building counts. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I was going to try and segue this into what the next map is going to be. It was going to be something about buildings, and there are a lot of buildings in Kings Row, none of which were donated by me.
Ones with names on it, like
Alderworth
Hotel.
But I feel like that's just more branding, because the guy called, like, I don't know, Reginald Alderworth started a hotel chain, kind of like Conrad Hilton, you know? Or whoever it is that started the Sheraton.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that
Mr.
their name
Fish
was like
and
Sherry
Mr.
Sheraton.
Chips started the fish and chip shop.
Yeah. That's like Danske and Mobile. It's like fish and chips. That's how they.
It's not a restaurant. It's a law firm.
Fish and chips, barristers and solicitors, barracudas and solicitors. Oh Jesus! I'm sorry.
I'm having a little too much fun with this one.
Way more entertaining than I have any right to. What a great joke. Because all that's running through my mind now is like all the other establishments that could be named in that same way. It's most of them, really. Like, what if every place was just a name? Got a supermarket chain here called New World. I like to imagine that's Mr. New and Mr. World. I don't know. At any rate, though, going on to Kings Row, what I do actually want to talk about is this very peculiar 3-3 that Talon have been running, the double main tank. Because I think...
I don't know if they're going to keep doing it.
That's the thing. I think this is where the lack of diva would really start to cost them if they stick to it.
I think it's something where on Oasis you maybe consider it's the type of map where, you can see a little bit more success. And when you start to think about, okay, what maps are they really pulling it out on? City Center makes kind of sense because you have the opportunity where Primal Rage gets a lot of value for environmentals if you're in a certain part of the map, and you're there a reasonable amount of time for it to be kind of worth it. They won with it anyway. I hate to use that as like, sort of results-based, and now it's just like, oh, they won with it, so it's good. That's not quite, it's not quite what it is, but it is, when you look at Gardens as well, it's like, okay, well, I can see where Primal might have value here as well. Some environmental factors could be quite good. Overall, I think Talon would have won with either the Winston or the Diva in that position, because as the better team, the way they were kind of playing around the EMPs on the other side, the way they were playing around Siege God and the Sombra in particular, kind of just gives them the edge. And once they stopped making the kind of mistakes that were kind of costing them fights on University and kind of swapping onto even the Winston making more sense than the Hammond in some cases, that's going to give them a lot more to work with.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like that's why I'm kind of expecting them to pull out a Diva here if they're going to run a 3-3. And look, maybe they're not actually going to run a 3-3 at all. We could see something else completely. Like, I don't know, maybe we see some kind of triple or quad DPS. This was a team that in a previous incarnation would run some triple DPS. I don't know that that's necessarily still in the repertoire of this current lineup. But at any rate, this is certainly the right match to see if it's there, to see if it's an option.
And I think one of the biggest strengths
I doubt we'd see it on Kings Row
Talon Esports as well is specifically their lineup has a lot of good individual players. When you really look at each player, and I know they've got a couple of what you'd say are rookies in here that we haven't really seen before. Muse and Bashful are the ones that are going to be the guys that you've never really seen before. But the rest of the four, even Inan, who was a coach of Hong Kong Attitude, look, that's still a game-winning team. That's all a season-winning team. CQB was from that roster. Gagora's got a title under his belt. Apudo's super well-known. You've got a lot of big-name players on this team in a way, and a lot of the individual performances really do shine through, and I think that's been a big proponent of the team's success.
I actually want to touch on one of those players as well, who you mentioned here. Apudo, I feel like this season... and this is doubly impressive when you consider he's actually not been playing in the region for a couple of seasons now. This guy is one of the old schoolers.
Season,
but that is still quite a length of time, especially when you consider his last season, which was with Mega, was a little bit lackluster on the whole. we've seen a real maturation of his skill set as a player. He gels really well with this team, it feels. Instead of it needing to be the Apudo show or bust, instead, I feel like we're seeing a far more A, well-rounded Apudo, and B, well-rounded team for Apudo to fit into.
Yeah, you've got a big cast to work with this time around. You've got a lot more big names. It's no longer just
like a Tarantino film.
Apudo as the main character, and he's certainly still a character in this. Right now, it's got to be a 3-3 coming up from both sides. Kagura staying on the Winston, at least.
Yep. I mean, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but I feel like I'm just kind of waiting for it to break here. At any rate, let's see how well it works.
Let's give them a lot of damage pressure. I got to say, his the overall damage output over a period of time probably is better than D.Va. Does apply some flank pressure as well.
That's a bit of a messy brawl, but Kagura is the first casualty of it. Trade back is there, and pressure now into Luminous A's to try and follow up on another tank. Not quite finishing him off, though. Now the pressure can start to mount the other way. Giant Lynx can just take a breather with the closer respawns and reaggress.
Also, one of those rare kill feeds you see is Zenyatta melee kill a Zarya in a Goat's composition.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, it's not your everyday, but Talon Esports still holding on.
The bingo card.
What they are seeing is, I don't know, the Winston did.
Woo! That's a big one. Never mind what the Winston did. It's the Reinhardt that absolutely defines that particular fight.
I was going to say the Winston didn't do too much because Kagura got picked out super early this time around. He took a lot of damage, but also Muse finds the perfect shot to get everyone else on their backs.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Now Talon Esports charging up the rest of their ultimates. They have tools offensively and defensively. You think Apudo now with this Graviton Surge, the damage from everybody else, CQB is probably going to get a sound barrier off this. The extra damage from both the Winston Tesla Cannon and also the Ryan Hammer Swings will do a lot inside of Grav.
Now the rotation. Probably see Kagura drop down here, get some damage on the backliners as they go to engage. That does get a Transcendence out of Panties with that Graviton Surge running. With no real headway made for Giant Lynx just yet. Talon, now they can get aggressive in this choke point, looking to pump Primal Rage. Not going to get too much mileage. Giant Lynx just going to back up.
And not as high value on this map. I mean, yeah, you're going to push some members in, and that might help. They might get you a couple of kills.
I mean, it suddenly does, right? Panties actually goes down and they isolate Luminous A's, so it ends up paying off. Giant Lynx actually backed right up and then chose to move back towards the choke point. That kind of cost them.
That's actually a decent place to use the Primal Rage. And I say not high value because obviously you're not getting environmental kills here. So the way you have to use Primal is in more of a team fashion where what can I displace here? What do I need to get away from my team and what do I need to get towards my team? And also, what does the other team want to do? Because if Giant Lynx actually wanted to push in that scenario, helping them push in by knocking the members into your own team is probably not helpful.
I think it's more about creating opportunities and disrupting your opponents. There's going to be Transcendence to counter the grab. The Shadow a little bit lackluster from Muse. They do block out. Self-destruct now, counter grab. This is a bit of a messy fight right now, tank for tank. Giant Lynx still running on some ultimates here. Nice shatter from Luminous A's. Need to get that follow-up in. They spent a lot of time on Muse. They still haven't finished him off. He's going to get out alive. And then killed Luminous A's in that. That is such a heartbreaker. Things were going so right for Giant Lynx, but they didn't quite get that last bit of damage. And then everything turns sour.
I mean, everyone else on Talon Esports is still pulling so much weight. Kagura went down there. Now it's going to come back on the Hammond, so just keeping Giant Lynx guessing every step of the way. We still are on A so far. Less than 1 minute to go, nearly at the 30-second mark. Giant Lynx do not have a single tick yet. It's getting very concerning for this push.
Stun on Kagura, but completely unanswered. It doesn't mean anything. Now they're just looking to commit to the fight on the point, which is probably for the last time for Giant Lynx. Stun on Luminous A's is an instant conversion on the kill, and that is how you do it when you stun a main tank. Now Sajin God goes down, Bumbarapa eats a stun, he goes down, Grab is there, just for style points out of Apudo. They don't even need to get the kills, less than 10 seconds. Nobody alive to get close enough to the point for Giant Lynx.
And realistically, when you look at this map as well, and it should be ending very soon as Rocket goes down.
Yeah,
final overtime.
Force the overtime. Luminous A's get stopped up before he can touch the point, though. So that's going to be that one ending, and now only a third needed for Talon.
But as I was saying, when you do look at this defense so far, the only member that was kind of compromised was Kagura, because he's diving in as Winston, he's diving in as the Hammond as well, not really dying on the Wrecking Ball, so that's something else. But besides that, the other 5 members in this composition, in this team so far, completely solid as a wall. Giant Lynx completely failing to break through. Even if they take Gogora down, they're not able to do anything with the other 5, even when they're landing shadows, even when they're able to drop some of their own ultimates in there. Combo missed as well, Graviton Surge into self-destruct. Nothing really happened there from the side of Giant Lynx. And for Talon Esports, keeping Muse alive, they never really broke formation, and Giant Lynx got absolutely nowhere.
Feels like a bit of a repeat of what we were seeing on the bulk of Oasis, University notwithstanding, was honestly Talon just entirely in control and Giant Lynx struggling to make headway, indeed not making any at all.
And they're so in control that, to be fair, Gogora at this point could play just about anything. If the rest of the 5 members do not go over, if you're not...
Don't say that, because...
Well, the problem is, I think you do say that because 6v5, Giant Lynx are not winning. They have been taking down Gogora. They have been forcing 6v5 situations. They've been landing ults in those situations, and they have not won in those situations. So yeah, Gogora at this stage, by that, he's been a factor, but I think the strength of the team is so much at the moment that it really does feel like no matter what he plays, they're kind of winning.
You say he can play anything, but tell you what, he can't play Baptiste, so take that.
Not legally anyway.
Yeah, just you can illegally play Baptiste.
Yeah. There's certain channels you go through for that. Message me later.
But that is going to be Talon Esports coming out the gate on a quad DPS. This is something we thought might be there, and man, this means we get to see in it real sniper. Oh! Jiminy Christmas.
And you see the combo play there from as well. Muse knocking everyone to the ground, completely disrupting the rotation from Giant Lynx, who are now stuck on the point with only 4 members.
And just Talon encroaching on all sides. Aputo gets one in and finds another. Bashful picks one up for himself. I think the only one who didn't actually walk away with a kill in that whole prolonged engage has been Gogora so far on the Genji. But honestly, you'll take it. The 1/3 grab up, pretty lickety split, and that's going to be Talon 2-0 up in the series, kind of as per expected.
And what we like to see is just a clean series. I mean, it's even to the point where, I mean, there's multiple levels. There's
fresh laundry.
You're able to win in a more standard, kind of expected way with compositions that make sense. And then there's a way where, again, 1st place versus 8th place, you're so much better than the other team. I go back to, you can kind of almost play anything here, and you are so much better that you make it work. And the other team, if they're not able to beat it, which Giant Lynx so far are not able to beat, they don't actually have to do anything else. They can just do what they like, and until they lose, they can just do it.
And I did actually say before this map, we were unlikely to see a triple or quad DPS on King's Road. I still stand by that. The reason we did see it was because Talon had completed a full hold. That first point is really the only place you could potentially run that. And I'm actually glad that we did see them run that as well. Because we talked about whether or not this team could run that composition still.
The other reason is because Giant Lynx started out on a Rhine Goats kind of composition. So if you're the attacker, you scout that out, which wouldn't be too hard to do. It's like, well, I mean, you're asking us to play DPS here. You're asking for Fire to come through. That's exactly what happened. Bashful's picking up kills as the Fire. In-In's obviously just insane on a number of different picks here. He's been the MVP last week, and I don't know, this week around, he wants to make a case for himself, and by the time we get to the end of map 4, we'll probably have an answer for you. But we are going to take a bit of a break. When we do come back, we're going to continue with the series, so more Contenders action does continue after this.